Hello and welcome to my new Guitar Nerdery video. Today I'd like to deal with a topic that seems to get lost more and more nowadays. Talking about tuning your guitar by ear. I'm old enough to can tell that in earlier days all guitar players had to learn this. But nowadays, with all these digital tuners available, even for free on your telephone, would it still make sense to learn to tune your guitar by ear? Is it worth the effort? And the answer is simply yes. It develops your listening skills. You will learn to recognize differences in pitch, and you will become more attentive to the intonation of your instrument. And even nowadays, in our technical world, it can happen that you find yourself in a situation where you do not have a digital tuner available. The guitar is a well-tempered instrument. That means its overall tuning is a sort of compromise. Learning to tune your guitar by ear gets you more acquainted with the nuances of your specific instrument. Each guitar behaves slightly different when it comes to intonation. So, in this video I'm going to show you a couple of methods I use when I tune my guitars by ear, and even when I tune them with a digital tuner. Afterwards, I always double check with some of these methods to be really sure that everything is okay. And at the end of this video, I will show you how you can easily, pretty easily tune down by ear to drop D and back. Before I'm going to show you the tuning methods, I want to make you aware of an issue. What you need is, what you have to prepare is, you need one tuned string. I'm going to show you everything from a tuned low E string. There are a couple of ways how you can achieve that. Maybe you have a piano or a keyboard available, so you can pick up one note, the low E in this case, or you know a certain song on your CDs that is in E, so you can try to tune your low E string to this. Or you want to tune your guitar by ear in a band, so you can ask someone else, could be a different instrument, to give you the E you need. And in a band situation this would be a great way anyway, because it could be that they are slightly in a different tuning than what your digital tuner would say. Method number one, and it's, I think, the most common one, at least it's the first one I've learned. It's comparing two strings and try to recognize if there is a difference in pitch. What you do is, our low E string is tuned. You have to prepare this. When this is the case, in the 5th fret the note is called A. And it should be exactly the same A as the open A string. So I fret the 5th fret and compare the fretted note with the open string, and they should be the same. So if this is not the case, you adjust the A string until its tuning is the same as the fretted A on the low E string. Now the A string is tuned, and to tune the D string we do the same. We fret the A string in the 5th fret, this is the note D, and this pitch of the D should be the same as the open D. Now the D string is tuned, and to tune the G string, again we do the same. We fret the D string in the 5th fret, this is the note G, and compare it with the open G, and the pitch should be the same. Now the G string is in tune, and to tune the B string we are doing not the same. We fret the G string in the 4th fret. There you find the note B. So the B string is differently tuned than all other strings. And that's always an issue also for playing, learning scales, learning chords. You always have this offset. And also with tuning, of course. Fourth fret G string should be equal to the open B. And finally, the high E string you tune by fretting the B string again in the 5th fret. Fifth fret B string is the note E and should be equal in pitch with the open E. So this was method 1, and if you're lucky, your guitar is already in tune, but you should double check. Play some chords down here at the campfire region, also bar chords up here. Check if it's up here again. Cool. So it seems my guitar is perfectly in tune, but it could be that method 1 doesn't lead you to a proper tuned instrument because of different reasons. Method number 1 makes use of fretted notes, and when the octave accuracy of your instrument is not well adjusted, that results in a slightly wrong A here. For example, it could be slightly different in pitch from the actual right A. And when you compare this with the open A string and you adjust the A string to this, the A string is not properly in tune to the low E string. And when you do this again and again to tune all other strings, when you finally reach the high E string, the tuning of the high E string can be pretty out of tune compared to the beginning low E string. Another issue you have to be aware of is when you fret the note, fret it with care. Just push as much as you need to get the note. If you push too hard, you bend the string. Or I see it a lot of times, students fret the note and doing a bending, a slight bending, and aren't aware of this. And this mistake goes on, and you won't get it this way in tune. Here, the double check is really mandatory after tuning with this method to check if you did it right on the way. Method number 2, tuning by ear with harmonics, with natural harmonics your instrument provides. Also with method 2, you need an already tuned string, in this case the low E string. So this is tuned, and then the tuned E string in the 5th fret, right upon the 5th fret, you find a harmonic. This is an E, and this should be the same as the harmonic right upon the 7th fret on the A string. This tuning method needs no fretted notes, and you can listen in 2 ways. You can listen to the pitch and compare the pitches, and you can listen to the fluttering that happens when the strings are not right in tune. Listen, the fluttering example. I do this A string slightly out of tune. Even more. You hear this. And now I'm gonna adjust the A string and listen to the fluttering until it's gone. If you go over the point, then it begins to flutter again. have to go back. In tune. It can happen that you have a bad day and you do not hear nothing. And when you have a bad hearing day, listening to pitch can be really difficult. But listening to the fluttering of the dissonance is a piece of cake. You can always do this, even when you are in a really bad shape, hearing-wise. So this is the method, the idea. You can tune the D string the same way. The A string is now tuned, so you compare the harmonic exactly upon the 5th fret, which would be an A, with the harmonic right upon the 7th fret on the D string. They should be the same. The same you do with the D string and the G string. Should be the same. And now comes the tricky one. You remember with the first method where you had to fret the 4th fret on the G string to get a B? You can't go further with this method, 5th fret and 7th fret harmonics, because then you would get this. The B string is differently tuned, so it doesn't work. But what you can do is the still well-tuned low E string, the note on the E string right upon the 7th fret, the harmonic, is the note B, and it is exactly the same pitch as the open B string. You can compare this, and then you can go back to the former method using the harmonics here, 5th fret and 7th fret, or you can use the harmonic E on the low E string. This is the same pitch as the high E string. Or double check with the E on the A string. So again, to tune the A string, E string 5th fret, A string 7th fret harmonics. D string the same. A string 5th fret, D string 7th fret harmonics. G string the same. D string 5th fret, G string 7th fret. B string open compared with the harmonic right upon the 7th fret on the low E string. And the high E string compared with the E harmonic right upon the 5th fret on the low E string, or end with the same E right upon the 7th fret on the A string. And this is pretty cool because you get a connection with the high string to the low strings. With the former method 1, you always get from one string to the next. But here you can, when you reached the highest strings, you can compare them directly to the low strings. That's a pretty effective tuning method. You do not fret notes. You're not getting mistakes by fretting wrong or by not well adjusted octave accuracy. I recommend to do both methods because, as I said, the guitar is a well-tempered instrument and each instrument has its own flaws. So if you check it in many different ways, you're getting closer to what it needs. And of course, also with method 2, do a double check. Check chords in different positions, from the campfire position up the neck, to make sure it's all fine. And what you also can do is comparing, for example, different E's on all strings. Having this E right upon the 5th fret on the low E string, comparing it not only to the E on the A string, but you can also compare it to, okay, you did that already with a high E string, but you can also compare it with the fretted note on the B string in the 5th fret. should also be the same if the tuning is fine. And 9th fret on the G string should also be the E, or 14th fret on the D string. So this way you're getting a lot of connections with those strings and you get a much better overview. And now, as promised, I'm gonna show you how you can easily, by ear, tune down to drop D. I like drop D. A lot of my songs are in drop D. I'm gonna use a method that I already used in method number 2, listening to the fluttering of the interference when the strings are not in tune. I have to mention, if you play a guitar with a vibrato system, this method isn't right a good one to do this, because when you tune your low E string down to D, your floating tremolo, if you have one, that the ones you can pull and push, it lifts up and all other strings get out of tune then. So it doesn't really work. To tune down to drop D by ear with a standard E-tuned guitar, do this. Play the harmonic right upon the 5th fret on the low E string and compare it with the harmonic right upon the 12th fret on the D string, which is a D. And you hear this fluttering. So now I play them together and adjust the low E string, tune it down. And to make it more obvious for you to hear, I enhance the distortion. Makes it easier to hear. Okay? When it stops, you have a perfectly tuned drop D guitar. Awesome! How do you go back? Use harmonics. Play the 5th fret harmonic on the now low D string, which is a D now, and compare it with the harmonic right upon the 7th fret on the A string. So this way you get D against E. Listen to the fluttering and tune up. Until it stops. You can do this pretty fast. It's pretty safe. Even if you have a bad hearing day, it always works because you're always capable of hearing the fluttering. This was it for today. I hope you found this interesting, this topic. Of course, it was more meant for beginning guitarists, but who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I'm looking very forward to see you next time.